Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Promptly Speaking, where we bring you the stories of the movers and shakers of the industry and their journey to success. I'm your host, Jack Madrid, and today our special guest is Nicki Agcaoili, the Chief Country Executive of Carelon Global Solutions Philippines. Nicki, it's good to finally have you on Promptly Speaking. It's a long time coming.
Thank you very much, Jack. I am very humbled and also thank you for taking the time to visit us as we launch our multimedia studio. And we welcome you. We welcome you to our glass office.
What a beautiful new space
Yes.
this is, and I just can't wait to go on the tour.
Yeah, no, we'll do
Later
that
on.
later. And again, we're glad to have you here.
Well, let's get right into it. Nicki, when I think of you and your rise in our industry, I consider you quite sincerely
Thank you.
as really a brilliant example of the long-term career path
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
successful leaders can aspire, and your journey, which we'll be talking about
Yeah.
in this episode, is just an example of the potential
Yeah.
that our industry
Thank you.
can bring. So maybe you can share with the audience, Nicki, how exactly did you start your career in the IT-BPM industry, and tell us how it evolved to
Yeah.
where you are today.
Yeah. Believe it or not, it's also timely. I'll be celebrating my 25th year, Jack, this year or next month. So I
Wow.
started as a contact center agent. 25 years ago, we were called call center agents. No one hardly knew what we were doing. So I was fresh out of college. I wanted to become a lawyer. So I was told, if you want to become a good lawyer, you have to be a good writer. I took up creative writing in UP Diliman. I also wanted to be a special education teacher. So I was in my first semester of taking up masters in special education, and I decided, I think I was 22, 23, that I can't continue not paying for my master's degree. So I heard of Sykes Asia. Their office was
Yeah.
also here in Ortigas, San Miguel, the San Miguel building. Got in and was hired as a probationary agent for a video card then. After 6 months, got regularized, moved to Kodak. I don't know if people or listeners still know of Kodak.
Household name.
Yeah. So we were supporting films, CD writers, and digital cameras then. And it was one of the industries that paid really well. So I was able to support myself. Eventually, I realized ang dami ng liars sa mundo, so I don't want to become a lawyer anymore. And found myself in a leadership role 8 months into entering the industry.
Wow.
So I think the company that I joined was Sykes Asia.
Mhm.
Obviously, they now have a different name. But we were also very fortunate that they had a clear path for future leaders. And I know we'll talk about that as well. So what was that path for Filipino employees like us? So the rest is history.
Wow.
So I was really just fortunate to have been able to get into the BPO space or call center industry right before it was about to boom.
Nicki, let's take a step back. You went to UP. Why did you choose UP? And tell us, what kind of a student were you?
Definitely, Jack, I did excel in academics. That's for sure. I went to UP then because it's just I come from a family of human rights activists. So I thought then it was just the right path. No, my brothers went to UP. We were all from UP, and then I just felt okay. If I couldn't imagine myself going anywhere else. It was UP or nothing. No, and the course, the creative writing course, then it was unheard of, and it was just UP that was at least from what I remember, offering creative writing, and my major was Filipino.
So, were you a studious type of student,
not
or
at all.
were you an
Not at all.
all-arounder, like a jock?
Yeah,
And did you
oh wow.
join organizations or frats?
Very average, Jack. I wasn't. I just and till now am an avid reader. I like to learn. I like to learn new things. Average student in the class, I would always be at the back. Would hardly participate in recitations. Managed to pass. I joined different organizations. I was part of the Pre-Law Society. I was part of the Mountaineers, UP Mountaineers.
Mhm, mhm.
So definitely very active and wanted to learn more about the country and what the university could offer. I I would fail subjects every now and then.
Mm.
Um, and that's why to date I still believe, and when I interact with my nieces and nephews, I always say that your degree or your university will never dictate where you can go
Mm.
or where you will go.
Hard to imagine, Nikki, that you did not participate, that you were just behind the scenes. Like if you met some of your classmates from before,
Oh wow.
what would they say and how would they remember you?
I think one thing's for sure, they would remember me as competitive,
Oh, okay.
very competitive. They would remember me as, I like to say, collaborative. In a group project, for example, Jack, I would never be the one who would be contributing. I always wanted to be, at least, identify myself as one of the contributors of great work.
Let's go back to your first job in Sykes. You're a
Wow.
call center agent. Now, how did that opportunity, fall on your lap? Was that the first job after you graduated?
Indeed, the first job. It was something that I think at that time, the majority of the agents, call center agents, were either from UP, Ateneo, just the top universities. I still have a lot of or still get to meet with the peers who are also leaders now, who all came from the same universities. No, Jack. So I'd like to say it did just fall onto my lap. It was I think I did well. I did fairly well during the interview. The main goal then, we didn't have as many metrics as we do today. It was mostly just about keeping customer satisfaction. That was the name of the game. So we knew that, okay, whether it was a technical work or purely customer service, they knew that we would do well because we wanted to learn more. So it was something that I felt we also worked hard for. Coming from different universities, I still am in touch with a lot of them. So very fortunate, but a lot of work involved.
Now, I'm sure you had no idea that those early years would lead
Oh, for
into where you are today.
Definitely.
25 years.
Definitely.
So I guess you were looking at it maybe a short to medium term and
At
before
first.
before what
At
it was. Now,
first.
what was the turning point? When did that perception,
Yeah.
expectation change that this was, hey, there might be something here that's a little bit longer
Yeah.
term?
And maybe a bit of context. So in Sykes, I was there for about 3 years.
Mm.
Like many of us, and a lot of the misconceptions to date, it's not a long-term job, to your point. For me, it turned when slowly, so after becoming an agent, I was promoted to a team leader. So the career progression then was very different today. Different in a way wherein there's no clear cut path for you. Not even clear cut development programs for you. If less than a year from being a team leader, I was an account supervisor, account manager for different accounts, financial accounts to even, I also remember doing outbound sales.
Mm.
It turned for me, and this was also after 3 years with Sykes, Converges, then was setting shop in the Philippines. I got to meet the likes of Marife, Penny, and Ivic. I mentioned those names because that was when I thought, this could be something long term. Ivic, to date, who I consider one of my mentors, had a clear cut pathway for me. So I knew, okay, this could be a longer term career. It pays really well. We get developed. And one of the things that I was impressed then was we were all hungry for not just for the promotions. It was as a manager, what's the next step for me, and what programs is the company able to offer? It was great then to be working for a leader like Ivic because she had a clear vision as to where she wanted to take the organization. So pathways, development programs were all very clear. And I have to say that I really learned a lot. That's when it changed. Okay. I still am learning. Why not? This could be something long term.
Very interesting when you look back
Yeah.
on it like that. But I'm sure there were other options outside the industry,
sure.
outside
For sure.
Sykes and
For sure.
Converges that may have tempted you
Yeah.
along the way, right? Were there?
There were.
Did you come close to pressing those buttons?
I did. I did get an offer to, teach preschool. Of course, the package was completely different. That was also the time that I felt, okay, well, would I be a good teacher? Or I think I'm doing fairly well as a frontline leader. But long short is there were other options out there, Jack.
So you talked a little bit about your turning point, which was fascinating. That kind of has positioned you on your path for leadership, right? Now let's talk about that. How would you describe the Nicki Agcaoili leadership style, and any sort of specific role model that inspired you in your career, and as you developed your own approach to leadership?
Sure. I'll start with, I was very fortunate to have worked for and alongside leaders like Ivic, leaders like Benedict, who's also part of our board, no, Jack, not directly, but, and the reason I mention their names, one, I'm always very nationalistic, Jack, that an advocate for Filipino leaders, that the style that I was able to develop was one wherein it was never hierarchical. It was, regardless of the roles or positions of the people I get to interact with, you can always learn something new. So, and I mentioned that because regardless of positions, there were simple rules that I kept in mind. Na uwi ako na wala akong inapakang tao, put simply. And uwi rin ako na hindi ako nagpaape. So those rules,
okay.
No? And I mentioned those in Tagalog because I think it's more impacting if you say it that way. But it's very simple. It's all about kindness and decency. That if you are able to lead and work for, and I always say work for and alongside with, because you're never ever get to lead even a team of 100 people. While it's great that you have a clear vision, but at the end of the day, this business of ours is all about people. So how you treat people and the style that I've developed throughout my 25-year journey as an agent and ultimately becoming a country leader is one wherein we can always. There's a reason why we have two ears and one mouth, Jack. There's a reason why you have two ears and one mouth. And the common misconception is the leaders do all the talking. But what I've realized is with a certain level or amount of humility, you will get the best ideas and you will get everyone to follow you because of how you listen.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. I'm glad that you articulated that so well, Nicki. Along your path, what has been your? It's a little bit personal.
Oh, sure.
Is there a specific challenge that was particularly difficult, and how did you overcome it?
A lot of humbling situations, a lot of humbling experience, no, Jack. The one, and I'll cite this because I think every leader in this industry has faced this, no? That you will always be in a position wherein, as you lead a team of 1,000 people, a couple thousand people, where you will need to be holding discussions that are never the easiest to do, the ones that truly make us uncomfortable, or the ones that will require a lot of discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
which I realized were healthy discourses, ones that as a leader, regardless of level, you will need to have it. And that, uh, I distinctly recall 2008. This was
Okay.
the peak of
Okay.
the telco accounts, no, being launched in the Philippines. And easily you would launch a telco account at 3,500 FTEs. And the name of the game was also about customer satisfaction, and it was soft selling. And we got to a point wherein we had to, and this was my experience with IVIC. I had to move from Alabang to Makati and turn an engagement or one of our telco accounts within 90 days. Because the mandate from the vendor leader was, if you don't perform, we'll pull out the engagement. And to date, I still remind Ivic, do you remember that project you gave me? Long short, we were able to do it, but it involved a lot of tough discussions across different levels, Jack. I've had to let go of people.
Mm.
I've had to let go of I've had to have really tough discussions with people who launched the engagement. I was coming into that engagement as I had people reporting to me who were 10 years older, 15 years older, were more senior, and who launched the engagement. But what I've learned was you need to think of the larger population, that it's never about one or two individuals. It's about 500,000 associates who depend on that job. And it's never personal. It's never ever personal. Again, going back to that experience, it's taught me to develop a part of me, or a side of me that I never thought I had, that I would be able to do that. In 90 days, Jack, out of the 8 vendors, we were number 1 across all 8 sites. And it involved a lot of hard work. It involved a lot of those tough discussions, but I will never ever forget that experience because it was very humbling. Looking people straight in their eyes and having to let them go. And proudly, Jack, the 2 of those leaders that I've had to let go of, while it was tough, I'm still in touch with and have managed to become friends with.
That's remarkable, Nikki. And as I was listening to what you were saying, there's quite a number of very big lessons there. No?
Absolutely.
And I find that this seems to be a common, let's just say, gap.
Yeah.
Amongst our leadership.
Oh, yeah.
And our industry has so much potential. I'm convinced myself, after doing this role for a little over 3 years, that we definitely have the best agents in the world. We have the best customer
100%.
experience specialists who have not just the communication but the empathy.
100%.
Right? But somewhere along the way, in this journey that you have, you're such a great example of navigating and rising. Many don't quite make it, Nikki, because of some of the things you said. This discomfort with having those difficult conversations.
Yeah.
Right? Not comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
And having those real discussions, and not taking it personally.
Yeah.
Is difficult, particularly in our culture. Maybe it's the way we were raised. But so my question is, how did you figure it out, and how did you overcome that? Because that was not easy.
It's not an easy. Definitely.
Where did you find it? Where did you find that?
You have
sauce?
to, that core. No, you have to really dig deep. You have to dig deep. But first, I have to, there are a lot of things you said there, Jack. I could not agree more. the Philippines, we have the best associates, best agents. It's not just empathy, and I think we're beyond just being good at speaking the English language. It's now the industry, as you know, it's evolving. No, our associates have completely evolved. We're now in a position, and I'll get to this point wherein we're having to, and it's a good problem. We're having to promote leaders left and right. The pathway's clear, and they now have to take these key positions in order to drive growth. And you articulated it well that one of our challenges, and I believe it's also not just because of the culture, but it's also something that individually, and whether people admit it or not from different countries, other cultures struggle with it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because playing the bad cop or being the one to have to lead a tough conversation, and wherever you go, whether it's North America or Latin America, a lot of the development programs still involve holding tough discussions, doing a clear performance management process, having to be the one to deliver bad news. And one of the things that we had talked about, and it was part of the summit, our recent IIS, is advocating for Filipino leaders, Jack, because it is an opportunity for us. A lot of the time, more often than not, our accounts fail or our performance is not at the level where we want it to be because of that. The inability to just put it out there and say, you know what, we have a problem. Meron tayong problema, kailangan natin to ayusin. Tao sa tao, person to person, we have to fix it. I'm not the only one who's going to benefit from it. And the reason I mention that is it's not just cultural. It's not just innate to Filipinos, Jack. We have to, is there a secret sauce? I don't think so. It really is. And when I say you dig deep into the core, because this business is about people, I would rather hear straight. And you always have to think, and the rule that I keep in mind, Jack, is just two words: roles reversed. What if you were on the other side, you were the associate? You knew, you're not aware that you're not performing. So you have to let that person know. And it is your obligation as a leader to have that, to be uncomfortable. You have to get over yourself feeling uncomfortable, because you have to now do that roles reversed role. What if you were that team leader? You're the operations manager. You're the one, you're aware that he's not where he needs to be at. So have that discussion. And what people need to see, and I always use these examples when we do our town halls, Jack, because once you have that, once you're clear with where they want to go, and then you're able to just ensure that there are guardrails for them to develop, 85 to 90%. These people will improve. These frontline leaders that we work with will improve. And the reason I say that is because, and I remind our frontline leaders, and I'll say it in Tagalog, regardless of levels, walang taong pumupunta ng office wanting to, riding the jeepneys, nakasakay sa tricycle, wanting to intentionally fail. Just keep that in mind. And then something clicks and it makes sense that I'm a team leader, newly promoted, 6 months into the role, I'm not performing, and you're the OM having to deliver that bad news. You need to remind yourself, roles reversed. Do you think that person wants to intentionally fail? And then again, no, so it's not a straight answer, but once you connect all of that, Jack, it starts to make sense. Na walang nakasakay ng tricycle, palagi ko iniisip, wala tayong agents. Probably all 1.4 million of our people, no, wanting to just intentionally suck at what they do or fail at what they're doing. More often than not, they're not aware. And we need to equip them, and we need to let them know.
Very powerful lesson. I like that. I will always remember that. Nicki.
Oh, wow.
Roles reversed. It's like the golden rule in
Yes.
a way.
No,
right?
yeah, you're right.
So
You're
you
right.
just see it from the other person's perspective. So on that same track, Nick, let's now shift a little bit and talk about how you balance your
Oh
life,
wow,
right? Because
wow.
I know what your workload is.
Yeah,
I know it. So how do you balance your responsibilities with your own personal and mental,
yeah,
well
yeah,
being? How do you do that? You have over 10,000 people that you are responsible for.
yeah.
That's pretty massive. And while we're there, I mean, what does a leader like you, person like you, what do you do to unwind and maintain your, you look very fit. How do you do all that?
Oh wow. I try, Jack. I don't think I have the formula, or I can say that I do have bad days. I do have bad days wherein I don't feel I am mentally, or I'm in a mental space, that I'm able to just get through the day. There are bad days, there are good days. Now it's just trying to figure out, how do I get more of those good days? Um, so a lot of people would say, exercising. I a firm believer. I don't have a trainer. I don't have a coach. I just try to put in 15, 30 minutes. Good day is 45 minutes to an hour of
Every day?
every day of just trying to perspire, getting some physical work in. Because that's how our bodies are programmed. We're not programmed to be just lying down the whole day. Once you get that in, and typically what I do is, when I wake up, just get that in, no matter how much you dislike it. We all, I think everyone will agree, we all don't like exercising. Probably there are people who love it, but it's never easy.
So what do you do? You
Uh, uh,
like go to the gym? Do you run?
so the gym, if there's a good day, so I live in a place where there's a gym that's walking distance. I run. I really think getting some sun, vitamin D is always good. That's how our programs are. That's how our bodies are programmed. No, so physical activity is always good. Firm believer of really trying to get a hold of our minds are so powerful, Jack. So meditating is very important for me.
Mm,
Whether it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
mm,
What I've
mm,
learned is, and I now forget, Jack, where I
mm.
got this. Minute you wake up, just right when you're collecting your thoughts, collecting your consciousness. And I've tried this. This will sound crazy. I force myself to smile.
You're always
So,
smiling.
no, 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 no.
Huh?
Trust me. When I'm at work, nah, I'm not a happy person. I'm the glass half empty
You're
type.
saying
I'm
you're
not a
not
happy
happy
person. I'm just
by
not. Oh
nature.
yeah,
You're
by
not.
nature, not a happy
Wow,
person,
that's hard.
Jack. Yeah,
That
yeah, 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 yeah.
surprises me a bit.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That much I can tell you. I'm a loner. I'm very much a loner. So when you force yourself to smile, and this really sounds crazy. I don't know if your listeners or your followers will believe it, but it works. You sit down, you fix your bed, and when bad thoughts start coming in, just smile. It works. Then something physical, physical activity, get your caffeine in, and that's just how you take care of yourself. Um, a lot of it, Jack, everything that I just mentioned has to do with controlling your mind, or getting ahead of getting ahead of that. Really just making sure that there's enough headspace there
Mhm.
as you start your day, as you and you're clear, your thoughts are clear. So what are two, three things that I'm going to have to really get done today? And if I know, and you probably no, not probably, you most likely have these days as well, that you have X number of speaking engagements, X number of meetings that I'd rather not be part of.
Mm.
What I always remind myself is, you laugh because it's true.
Yeah.
All these meetings that I need to power through, 8 to 10 hours from now, I'm going to be back home in the same space that I feel safe. I'm going to get through it.
I learned a lot there, Nikki. First, myself to smile. I have a lot of
Yeah.
bad days on the golf course.
Oh, there you
So
go.
I'm gonna apply that superpower. Force myself to smile. You'll probably be a good golfer.
We're learning. The team and I are learning, Jack. Just so
Oh,
you know,
awesome! That's
we
great
figured
news.
out. Yeah. But I agree with you.
So what? One more serious question,
Oh,
and
for
we're
sure. Yeah.
gonna
Go
have
ahead.
some
Go for
fun
it.
after. What are your thoughts on mentoring?
Ah, I think it's crucial, critical, both to be a mentor and a mentee. I forget earlier. When I started out as an agent, Jack, there was one rule that to date I still keep: always end your day having learned something new.
Mm.
It's a new word. When I was learning to troubleshoot CD writers, oh, at least I learned how to do that. I've kept that rule to date,
Every
both
day.
every day, every day. So today, for example, today I learned a new word from Rhyme-Webster. So I subscribe. So if I don't get something new about the work we do, then I learn a word, or I learn something new about the people I work for or alongside with. Something new about Gracie, for example. It's one thing that I learned. You guys met him earlier, Wako.
Mm.
He loves his mom. He's the one of the breadwinners, and he knows how to laugh din pala, because I always see him serious. No? So it's learning something new. And the reason I mentioned that is mentoring, especially nowadays, very critical as we continue to define or re-engineer the pathway for our industry. Um, we know that this industry has done a lot for our economy. And if we are going to take this to, and we will continue to do so, continue to take it to the next level, we're going to need a lot of mentors and people who are open to learning.
Are you actively mentoring people now?
Humbly, yes. We have a job shadowing program. And I know that's very structured. But what I've also learned is that the it's always how you make people feel is when they will be able to learn or absorb things, Jack. So a good example is, and I'm very intentional about this, Mondays through Thursdays, you will always I will try to get all the meetings in, all the critical meetings in, all the tough things that need to get completed. Fridays, I try to free it up or keep it open, and then I'm able to spend time not just with the team that I work for alongside with, but the ones that work for them.
Okay.
And
Two downs.
yes, whether it's one or two people, I get even just 30 minutes in, and that's where I discover things or yung hidden talent. And then you get to tap people, not just who report into you, but people who are two, three layers within that group. And just last Friday, I got to spend time with one of our talent management leaders who I've worked with for the past 3 years, but never knew she had a degree in learning development, and that she wanted to pursue certain areas. And that for me is very important, because you can't claim to be a mentor without knowing people to their core, what truly
Who they
inspires
are.
them. Yeah,
Their
who they truly are.
character over
Yeah,
time. Well, I'm sure those are very insightful discussions. Just listening to you, I know that you're a very good mentor. I can already feel it.
I
Just
try.
just
I
just listen.
try. I try, Jack.
Now you mentioned Ivic clearly as being one of your
Yeah,
early influences. Do you consider her until today as a
absolutely.
mentor?
Absolutely, Jack. That I can send a message if there's an idea or even a problem that I'd like to flesh out. I still can do so. And I'm fortunate, Jack. And I I just mentioned this to Ivic. Ivic, you always say that I started 8 years old in this industry. Not a lot of people think that I turned 50 in a couple of years. And that regardless, and I say that because regardless of where you're at, where you get to in this industry, or industry agnostic, Jack, you need to surround yourself with people. And I think I was fortunate. to be surrounded with people like you, like the likes of Benedict, who definitely have a lot more experience that I can learn from. Because you can never get enough of that. You can never get enough of that. So on top of Ivic, there's still a lot of people that I consider, mentors as well.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Nikki. Now we're going to one of my favorite parts of Promptly
Oh
Speaking.
wow.
This was not in the
Not in the okay.
not
All
in
right.
the we didn't talk about this beforehand,
Yeah.
Nikki, but this is going to be fun.
Sure.
I'm going to ask
Go for it.
you 10 very quick questions, and I don't want you to think
Explain.
too much
Yeah.
about it.
Okay.
You just say the first thing that comes to your mind. That's why it's
Let's
fun.
do it.
So
Sige.
we have a deal? Okay.
Go for it.
Okay. Have you ever, Nikki, binged watched a series or a TV show
Oh
in
yes.
one sitting?
Oh yes.
What?
The most recent one, because I haven't had the chance to, is season 1 of Squid Game.
Oh, season one.
Yeah. Season 1. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well that was pretty, that was quite shocking.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Did you
yeah.
finish it?
I did.
Fantastic.
I did. Over the holidays.
Have you ever mispronounced a word in a meeting?
All the time. All the time. And Gracie, our head of training, would always correct me. Yeah, all the time.
Have you ever said, "I am on my way," but you were really still at home?
Yes, sir.
You're so honest.
Oh yeah. No point in not being, no? Oh yeah.
Have you ever Googled yourself?
Recently, I never used to until our head of external affairs asked me to, because she made fun of a picture I had more than 10 years ago as a site director for Teletech Iloilo then. And it was hilarious. So I had to, just because I was told.
Oh, that's that's a pretty good reason. Did you have long hair?
And that was funny.
10 years ago?
Oh, Jack. Yeah. Yeah. Unapologetically, yeah. We'll admit that.
Have you ever ghosted someone on a date?
No.
Wow.
No. Yeah. No.
You're one of the good ones.
Yeah.
What is the city that you most want to visit and why?
Oh, wow, Jack. So definitely still here in the Philippines. Believe it or not, I've never been to Palawan, because I always say that, yeah, I've never been, and I'm going to try to go there in June, because I really feel we have not just great people, but we have a great country. We have great islands, so I would love to get to visit Palawan.
Wow, I'm really shocked.
Yeah. I've never been.
What is your biggest fear?
Oh wow, that made me think. Because the biggest fear I had was losing one of my parents, and we lost our dad 4 years ago. So I think I've not yet fully overcome. So yeah, that fear has. I think we all do, no? We all have that fear of losing our loved ones.
What is your favorite Ilonggo word?
Oh wow, marami. There's madamo. But palangga, of course, love.
I like that.
Palangga. Yeah.
That's
it's not a bad word, but
no, it's a very endearing.
Yeah.
Word.
It is. Palangga.
My grandmother called me that. She's from the south.
Yeah, from the sound of it, the way it's pronounced, it's very soothing. No.
What do you think, Nikki, is the biggest misconception about you?
Being where we're at is, I think I'll relate it to Jack. I've been very, very fortunate to have grown in this industry. And that's why I made sure that I would mention my age, because I find myself, and it's probably just me. It's not even probably, because I remember this saying that more often than not, what you think others think of you isn't what others are actually thinking of you. It's a reflection of your
It's a big difference.
insecurities.
What you think they think of you, and
you got it. Yeah. And I've always had this, or at least probably misconception of myself, just because you started early, you moved up the ladder early, that people don't take you seriously just because you're you're below 50 or you're young, you're always tagged or labeled as a young leader.
So it creeps
Yeah,
back once
it
in a while.
every now and
I
then.
get that. I
Yeah,
get.
yeah.
I know how that is.
There you go.
What's your go-to running song?
Whew. Recently, Electricity by Dua Lipa.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. And finally, Nick,
Yeah.
I always ask this one. This
Oh,
is the
yeah.
only common one. Who is Nicki Agcaoili in 3 words?
Okay. So I'll do 3 HSs. This is a formula that my dad and my grandfather taught me, and I'd like to believe I stuck to it. So my dad would always say, as long as you're hardworking, as long as you're humble, as long as you're honest, regardless where life brings you or takes you, you will be okay. So to date, I still try to live up those. I'd like to think I'm hardworking. I always try to humble myself. And I hope today came across as, I'm me being completely honest.
Oh, in spades. In fact, whenever I see you, Nikki, I'm going to think of 3H.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, and thank you for your honesty and candor in those rapid fire questions.
With pleasure. With
We're going to
pleasure.
wrap up what an enlightening session. But I do have a couple of more things for,
Go ahead.
for our
Go for
audience. So, what are some of the advocacies, Nikki, that are closest to your heart?
To date, so I'll name a couple, Jack. And I always say that there's no perfect organization. Carelon for one, or regardless of the company, we try to be good. We get better. No, one of the advocacies is around DEI, and I mentioned that because I always challenge ourselves: can we put our hands over our hearts when we say that we are truly inclusive, that we have a facility that's truly inclusive, because we have very successful deaf associates, Jack, that are outperforming not just vendors, but even our onshore facilities. I'd like to be able to talk about that more. Are we truly, are we able to accommodate applicants that are part of the PWD community? So I know it's very broad. Even senior citizens, Jack, we boast of being the most inclusive industry. But can we put our hands over our hearts and say that we're equipped, we have the training environment, we have the recruitment facility to be able to employ the persons with disability? So that's one. The other one that I found myself advocating more of it is advocating Filipino leaders in our space. Not for anything, it would be great to see Filipinos take on country leader roles. More Filipinos, I should say, more Filipinos. I found myself, there's a project that Benedict asked that we should lead together with IE about creating a development program, regardless of which company, led by IBPAP, led by the association we're part of, that will, to your point, identify mentors and mentees. And then we have a clear-cut program that will be not just be supported by trustees, but future leaders, and not just Filipinos, but with the intent to identify the next generation leaders. They're advocating for Filipino leaders and truly being more inclusive.
How did your passion, for this, for these two causes?
Yeah.
How did that spark, and was there a specific moment, that you pledged your commitment?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with family, Jack. I come from a family where we have a lot of family members who have disabilities, and I always think, and that's why I also wanted to teach special education, nephews who are within the spectrum. And I always think again, applying roles reversed, I wonder how life is for them. No, and just recently we had an event in Iloilo for our Iloilo associates. We had in our audience our deaf associates, and I'll just use this as an example. So we had a well-known band playing, and I was thinking, we think about all these, but what about our deaf associates?
Mm.
So that's where it stems from, family and both my parents, while they were activists, they never forced us to become activists. I think all of us have become capitalists, but with a heart. And I always and they always just taught us two things: as long as you're kind and decent, okay na kayo. We won't mind you. So the root of it is really the values that you get from, or I got at least from my
Can
family.
you tell us a little bit
Sure.
more about Compass PH?
Oh wow, yeah. Within that 25 journey, I felt that I had to give back. That technology could be more compassionate. This was around 2017. I just left SPI Global because we were successful at.
Mhm.
We worked with a private equity firm. Had a bit on the side wherein my brothers and I thought, you know what, we should learn how to program. So I learned Python, but we still secured the help of developers and made sure this was also right about the time we're in. It was just in the news, one after the other, overseas Filipino workers being abused, killed. And what could we do? Because they didn't have this, we didn't have the support system for them to be able to raise their hand and say, I need help. It started with an idea. So Compass is an app that we developed with the primary feature is I'm an overseas Filipino worker, or we have subscribers who aren't even Filipino. Indonesians, Malaysians, Filipino
Mm.
workers, migrant workers. If I click the SOS button, I would be able to get help. They would be able to identify where I'm at.
Mm.
So there was a lot of groundwork. So we partnered with non-profit institutions who had that same passion and would rescue them. No, and the other features of the app were, providing them options so that they wouldn't have to end up working with loan sharks, driving financial literacy, development programs. If I wanted to shift careers, then there's a portal that I could go to if I'm a returning Filipino. It was all about that, providing that space for migrant workers so that they wouldn't have to be taken advantage of, and while leveraging technology. Since we launched Jack, we've been able to rescue 112 Filipina distressed Filipina migrant workers without government intervention. So that's something that my brother has taken forward, and it continues to live on.
Thanks for sharing that about Compass PH. I'm now going to ask you my last question, and it's
Sure.
always one of the most important questions, during this podcast. And the question is, what advice, Nikki, would you give
wow.
aspiring leaders, as they hear your story, your path to success? What advice would you give them if they were going to pursue that same trajectory and career journey as you?
I don't think I would be the best person. One, I think, if you have got to be a lifelong learner, Jack. I say that because the simple rules that I've kept. Always end your day having learned one thing, and not just because you get to a certain level, that you can no longer be a mentee. So
Yes.
right. And today we've got to be able to not just learn about new technologies, but adapting to different coaching methodologies, because it is an evolving industry, and we continue to. Now we have not just Gen Zs, not just millennials, but Gen Z. So you've got to be a lifelong learner. You've got to be humble enough and always remember roles reversed. Have enough humility in you to be able to acknowledge that you can always be a mentee or learn something new from people regardless of their positions.
I can't help it. I'm going to ask you one more.
Yeah, of course. Go for it.
Our industry is so big,
Yeah.
and what I like to say, as you probably know, is I like to describe our industry as an indispensable pillar
I agree.
of our economy.
I agree with you 100%.
Now, what would be your message, Nikki? Because this is an industry of human capital. It's all about the people, and we have the best of them, but we need more of them.
Yes.
So, what would be your message to encourage more people who are not considering being part of our industry to at least consider? What would you say to them?
First is, I think, try to learn more about the industry. And I say that, Jack, because I know you will 110% agree with me on this, that we are not just about call center. We are not just about picking up the phone, responding to emails, responding to chat. Our industry, we've significantly evolved the past 20, 25 odd years. And to learn more about the industry, you will be able to find your space here. No? Because we have healthcare, we cater to game developers, we cater to accountants. Earlier today, I mentioned we are in need of pharmacists. We are in not just nurses. So there is a space for, regardless of generation, regardless of the industry you're at, whether you're in travel and entertainment. And it also will, of course, depend on your priorities. But if I am, again, using overseas Filipino workers as an example and just wanting to be working close to my family, there is a spot for you in our industry. And the only thing that you need to do is try to learn more about it and find your space.
IT-BPM, it's more than you think.
Yes, we are more than just voice.
So with that, Nikki, I really want to thank you for taking your valuable afternoon and joining me on this next episode of Promptly Speaking. I'm sure our listeners and viewers got as much,
I hope so,
from the conversation as I did.
I did.
So thank you, Nikki, and I'm sure viewers will want to watch and rewatch this episode. So I want to thank you all for listening. Nicki Agcaoili of Carelon Global Solutions.
Thank you very much, Jack Madrid. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Woo!
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Promptly Speaking. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
That's information technology and business process management. We are coders and programmers, agile animators, illustrators, auditors, analysts, from consultants to managers, searching nurses and doctors, data developers and testers, VA smiling CXRs and artificial intelligence engineers. Oh wait, there's more. We are problem solvers and number crunchers. We speak in several languages, including Java, Python, Python, and so on. And on and on and on. We create heroes and villains. We gain experience and level up in life.
We are the IT-BPM industry, working with the Philippines. Join us.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and subscribe to IBPAP on Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. Stay tuned for the next episode on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts.
IBPAP.